Your mind can become a beautiful place of peace, but it can also become a prison when negative thinking takes control. Many people are not suffering only because of what happened to them. They are suffering because their mind keeps repeating the same fear, the same regret, the same doubt, and the same painful story again and again. Buddhism teaches that thoughts are not always reality. A thought can appear in your mind, but that does not mean it is true. You may think you are not enough, but that does not make it a fact. You may think your life will never change, but that is only fear speaking. The moment you learn to observe your thoughts instead of obeying them, you begin to become free. 1. Understand that your thoughts are not always the truth. The first lesson is to understand that your thoughts are not always the truth. The mind can create stories that feel real, but many times they are only fear, pain, or old memories speaking. When something bad happens, the mind may quickly say, "This always happens to me," or "I will never be happy," but this is not truth. This is only one painful thought trying to control your whole life. Buddhism teaches mindfulness so you can see your thoughts clearly. Instead of believing every negative thought, pause and ask yourself, is this really true, or is my mind creating fear? This simple question can save you from suffering. You do not need to fight every thought. You only need to stop giving every thought power over you. When you observe a negative thought without becoming it, you begin to separate yourself from it. You realize, this is only a thought. It is not my identity. It is not my future. It is not my whole life. This is the beginning of freedom. 2. Stop feeding the thoughts that hurt you. Negative thoughts become stronger when you keep giving them your attention. One painful memory may come into your mind, but when you keep replaying it again and again, it becomes heavier. One small fear may appear, but when you start imagining the worst future, it becomes bigger than reality. This is how the mind creates suffering. It takes one thought and turns it into a whole story. Buddhism teaches that the mind is like a garden. Whatever you water will grow. If you water fear, fear becomes stronger. If you water anger, anger becomes stronger. If you water regret, regret stays alive. But if you water peace, patience, and awareness, those qualities also begin to grow inside you. So when a negative thought comes, do not sit with it for hours and make it more powerful. Do not keep asking, why did this happen to me? Do not keep blaming yourself or imagining everything going wrong. Instead, notice the thought and gently say, this is only a thought. I do not need to follow it. You are not ignoring your pain. You are only refusing to make your pain your home. Every time you stop feeding a negative thought, it becomes weaker. Every time you choose peace, instead of repeating the same painful story, you open a small door inside your mind and begin to become free. 3. Return to the present moment before the mind pulls you away. Most negative thinking begins when the mind leaves the present moment. It runs back to the past and brings regret. It runs forward into the future and brings worry. Then you start suffering from things that are not happening right now. Your body is sitting in one place, but your mind is trapped in old memories or future fears. Buddhism teaches that peace is found in the present moment, because this moment is the only place where life is real. You cannot change yesterday by thinking about it again and again. You cannot control tomorrow by worrying about it all day, but you can return to your breath, your body, and the step in front of you. When your mind starts pulling you into overthinking, pause for a moment, take a slow breath, feel where you are. Look around and remind yourself, right now, I am here. Right now, I am safe. Right now, I do not need to solve my whole life. This simple awareness brings you back from the storm of thoughts. The present moment does not remove every problem, but it gives your mind space to calm down. When you come back to now, negative thoughts lose some of their power because you stop living inside fear and start living inside reality. Every time you return to the present moment, you take one step out of the prison of your mind. 4. Do not become attached to painful stories about yourself. One of the deepest reasons people stay trapped in negative thinking is because they become attached to painful stories about themselves. They do not only remember what happened to them, they begin to believe that what happened to them is who they are. A person may fail once and start saying, "I am a failure." A person may be rejected once and start saying, "I am not lovable." A person may go through a hard season and start saying, "My life will always be difficult." Slowly, one painful moment becomes a permanent identity in the mind. Buddhism teaches that attachment creates suffering, and this attachment is not only about people, money, or desires. Sometimes we become attached to our own sadness. We become attached to old wounds. We become attached to the version of ourselves that was hurt, rejected, ignored, or broken. We keep repeating the same story so many times that the mind starts to believe there is no other way to live. But you are not the painful story your mind keeps repeating. You are not the mistake you made. You are not the person who left you. You are not the failure that happened in your past. You are not the painful words someone spoke about you. Those things may be part of your experience, but they are not the full truth of your life. A negative mind will try to turn pain into identity. It will say, "This happened to me, so this must be who I am." But wisdom says, "This happened to me, but I can still grow from it." There is a big difference between carrying a lesson and carrying a wound. A lesson makes you wiser, but a wound repeated every day keeps you trapped. If you keep telling yourself, "I am weak," your mind will start looking for proof that you are weak. If you keep telling yourself, "Nobody cares about me," your mind will ignore the people who do care and focus only on the ones who hurt you. If you keep telling yourself, "Nothing good happens in my life," your mind will forget all the small blessings that are still present. This is how painful stories become prisons. They do not only hurt you once, they train your mind to see life through pain. Buddhism reminds us that everything is changing. Your thoughts change, your emotions change, your body changes, your life changes. Even your identity can change when you stop holding on to the old story. You are not forced to remain the same person your pain created. You can become calmer, you can become wiser, you can become stronger. You can become someone who no longer lives from fear. So when your mind says, "I will always be this way," pause and remind yourself, this is only an old story. When your mind says, "I am not enough," remind yourself, this is pain speaking, not truth. When your mind says, "My past ruined me," remind yourself, "My past taught me, but it does not own me." Do not carry your pain like your name. Do not introduce yourself to life through your wounds. You are allowed to heal. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to release the version of yourself that was only surviving and become the version of yourself that is finally living. The more you stop attaching yourself to painful stories, the more space you create for peace. You begin to understand that you are not trapped by what happened before. You are only trapped when you keep repeating it inside your mind. The moment you stop calling pain your identity, you begin to step out of the prison of negative thinking. 4. Do not become attached to painful stories about yourself. One of the deepest reasons people stay trapped in negative thinking is because they become attached to painful stories about themselves. They do not only remember what happened to them, they begin to believe that what happened to them is who they are. A person may fail once and start saying, "I am a failure." A person may be rejected once and start saying, "I am not lovable." A person may be betrayed once and start saying, "I can never trust anyone again." A person may go through a difficult season and start saying, "My life will always be hard." Slowly, one painful moment becomes a permanent identity inside the mind. This is how negative thinking becomes dangerous. It does not stop at one thought. It creates a whole image of who you are. It takes your mistakes, your wounds, your disappointments, and your bad memories, and it turns them into a story that sounds true. Then, every day, the mind repeats that story until you begin to live through it. You no longer see yourself clearly. You only see yourself through the pain you have carried. Buddhism teaches that attachment creates suffering, and this attachment is not only about people, possessions, or desires. Sometimes we become attached to our sadness. We become attached to our old wounds. We become attached to the version of ourselves that was hurt, rejected, ignored, or broken. The pain becomes familiar, and because it is familiar, the mind keeps returning to it. Even when peace is available, the mind may still choose the old story because it has repeated it for so long. But you are not the painful story your mind keeps repeating. You are not the mistake you made years ago. You are not the person who left you. You are not the failure that happened in one chapter of your life. You are not the cruel words someone spoke about you. You are not the rejection that made you doubt yourself. These things may be part of your experience, but they are not the full truth of who you are. A negative mind will try to turn pain into identity. It will say, "This happened to me, so this must be who I am." But wisdom says, "This happened to me, but I can still grow from it." There is a big difference between carrying a lesson and carrying a wound. A lesson makes you wiser, calmer, and more aware. A wound, when repeated every day, keeps you trapped in the same suffering again and again. Many people do not realize that they are living inside old labels. They call themselves weak because they once felt helpless. They call themselves unlucky because life was difficult for a time. They call themselves broken because someone hurt them deeply. They call themselves a failure because something did not work out. But a label is not truth. A label is only a word the mind repeats. And if you repeat the wrong word long enough, you begin to believe it. If you keep telling yourself, "I am weak," your mind will start looking for proof that you are weak. If you keep telling yourself, "Nobody cares about me," your mind will ignore the people who do care and focus only on the ones who hurt you. If you keep telling yourself, "Nothing good ever happens in my life," your mind will forget every small blessing and only collect evidence of pain. This is how painful stories become prisons. They do not only hurt you once, they train your mind to see your whole life through suffering. Buddhism reminds us that everything is changing. Your thoughts change, your emotions change, your body changes, your relationships change, your understanding changes. Even the person you believe yourself to be can change. Nothing inside you is fixed forever. This means you are not forced to remain the same person your pain created. You can become calmer. You can become wiser. You can become stronger. You can become someone who no longer lives from fear. The mind may say, "I will always be this way," but Buddhism teaches that this is not true. Everything that arises can also pass away. Sadness arises and passes. Anger arises and passes. Fear arises and passes. Doubt arises and passes. Even negative beliefs about yourself can pass away when you stop feeding them and stop calling them your identity. So when your mind says, "I am not enough," pause and remind yourself, this is only a thought, not the truth. When your mind says, "I will never change," remind yourself, everything changes and I can change too. When your mind says, "My past ruined me," remind yourself, my past taught me, but it does not own me. When your mind says, "This pain is who I am," remind yourself, this pain is something I experienced, but it is not my whole identity. Do not carry your pain like your name. Do not introduce yourself to life through your wounds. Do not let one difficult chapter convince you that the whole book is ruined. You are allowed to heal from what hurt you. You are allowed to release the old version of yourself. You are allowed to become someone new without asking your past for permission. Healing begins when you stop saying, "This is who I am," and start saying, "This is what I am learning to release." This small change is powerful. It takes you out of identity and brings you into awareness. You are no longer trapped inside the story. You are watching the story, understanding it, and slowly letting it go. The more you stop attaching yourself to painful stories, the more space you create for peace. You begin to see that you are not trapped by what happened before. You are only trapped when you keep repeating it inside your mind. The moment you stop calling pain your identity, you begin to step out of the prison of negative thinking and return to the freedom that was always waiting inside you. 5. Practice compassion toward your own mind. Many people try to escape negative thinking by fighting their own mind. They become angry at themselves for overthinking. They blame themselves for feeling fear. They say, "Why am I like this? Why can't I just stop thinking? Why am I so weak?" But this kind of inner attack does not bring peace. It only makes the mind more afraid, more tired, and more restless. Buddhism teaches compassion, and compassion is not only something we give to others, it is also something we must give to ourselves. If your mind is full of negative thoughts, it does not mean you are broken. It may mean your mind is wounded, tired, or trying to protect you from more pain. A mind that has been hurt before often becomes careful. It starts expecting problems before they happen. It starts imagining rejection before it comes. It starts creating fear because it wants to keep you safe. But the problem is that fear does not always protect you. Sometimes fear becomes another prison. Your mind may think it is helping you by reminding you of every danger, every mistake, and every painful memory, but slowly it begins to steal your peace. This is why you must not hate your mind. You must guide it with patience. When a negative thought appears, do not immediately insult yourself. Do not say, "I am stupid for thinking this." Do not say, "I am weak because I feel this way." Instead, pause and speak to yourself with kindness. Say, "I understand that I am afraid, but I do not need to live inside this fear." Say, "I know this thought is painful, but I can breathe through it." Say, "I am learning how to be peaceful. I do not need to punish myself for being human." This kind of self-talk may sound simple, but it is very powerful. The mind listens to the way you speak to it. If you keep speaking to yourself with anger, your inner world becomes a place of pressure. But if you speak to yourself with patience, your inner world slowly becomes a place of safety. A safe mind can heal. A punished mind only hides more pain. Buddhism reminds us that suffering should be met with understanding, not cruelty. If a child was crying, you would not scream at the child and tell them to be quiet. You would sit beside them, calm them, and help them feel safe. In the same way, when your mind is full of fear and sadness, it needs care, it needs awareness, it needs a gentle return to peace. Practicing compassion toward your own mind does not mean you believe every negative thought. It does not mean you allow fear to control your life. It means you stop fighting yourself while you are trying to heal. You can be gentle with yourself and still be strong. You can be kind to your mind and still choose discipline. You can understand your pain without letting your pain make every decision. When your mind says, "You are not enough," do not become angry. Simply say, "This is an old fear speaking." When your mind says, "You will fail," say, "Maybe I am afraid, but I can still take one step." When your mind says, "Nobody cares," say, "This is pain talking, not the whole truth." Every time you answer your negative thoughts with compassion, you weaken their control. Many people think peace comes when the mind becomes completely silent, but Buddhism teaches that peace begins when you stop reacting to every thought with fear. Thoughts may still come, but you do not have to fight them. You can notice them, understand them, and let them pass. Like clouds moving across the sky, they can appear and disappear without becoming your whole world. The more compassion you give to your own mind, the more your mind begins to trust you. It no longer needs to scream for your attention. It no longer needs to repeat fear again and again. Slowly, the mind learns that it is safe to rest. It is safe to let go. It is safe to stop living in survival mode. So be patient with yourself. You are not weak because you struggle with negative thoughts. You are human. You are learning. You are healing. Every calm breath, every kind word, and every gentle moment of awareness is helping you step out of the prison of your mind. When you practice compassion toward your own mind, you stop becoming your own enemy. You become your own healer. And the moment you begin treating yourself with kindness, the door to inner freedom opens a little wider. 6. Let go of what you cannot control. One of the biggest reasons the mind becomes trapped in negative thinking is because it keeps trying to control things that were never fully in its hands. The mind wants certainty. It wants guarantees. It wants life to move exactly the way it imagined. It wants people to behave the way it expects. It wants the future to be clear before it takes the next step. But life does not work like that. Life is always changing, and when the mind refuses to accept this truth, suffering begins. Many people do not realize that their negative thoughts are not only coming from pain, they are also coming from resistance. They are fighting reality inside their own mind. They keep thinking, why did this happen? Why did they treat me like this? Why is life not going my way? What if everything goes wrong? These questions may feel natural, but when you repeat them again and again, they become a mental prison. You are no longer solving the problem. You are only suffering from the same thought in different forms. Buddhism teaches that attachment creates suffering. When you become attached to one result, one person, one plan, one expectation, or one version of life, your peace becomes dependent on something outside you. And anything outside you can change. People can change. Situations can change. Plans can fail. Timing can be different from what you expected. Life can take a turn you did not see coming. If your peace depends on controlling all of this, then your peace will always be fragile. Letting go does not mean you stop caring about life. It does not mean you become lazy, cold, or careless. Letting go means you stop holding your peace hostage to things you cannot force. You can still work hard. You can still love deeply. You can still hope for good things. You can still make plans. But you do not destroy yourself when life does not immediately obey your desires. There is a big difference between effort and control. Effort is healthy. Control becomes suffering. Effort says, I will do my best. Control says, everything must happen exactly my way. Effort gives you strength. Control gives you anxiety. Effort keeps you moving. Control keeps you trapped in fear. Buddhism does not teach you to stop making effort. It teaches you to make effort with wisdom without becoming attached to the outcome. For example, you can be kind to someone, but you cannot control whether they appreciate your kindness. You can speak honestly, but you cannot control whether someone understands you. You can love someone sincerely, but you cannot control whether they stay. You can work hard toward your goal, but you cannot control every result, every delay, or every obstacle. You can be a good person, but you cannot control what others say about you. When you try to control these things, your mind becomes exhausted. A negative mind wants to control everything because it is afraid. It thinks, if I can control people, I will not be hurt. If I can control the future, I will not be surprised. If I can control every outcome, I will finally feel safe. But the truth is, the more you try to control everything, the more unsafe you feel. Because deep inside, you know you cannot control everything. So the mind stays alert, tense and worried all the time. This is why letting go is an act of wisdom. It is not weakness. It is not giving up. It is understanding the difference between what belongs to you and what does not belong to you. Your actions belong to you. Your intentions belong to you. Your discipline belongs to you. Your patience belongs to you. Your response belongs to you. Your breath belongs to you. Your next step belongs to you. But other people's thoughts do not fully belong to you. The past does not belong to you anymore. The future has not arrived yet. The timing of life is not fully in your hands. When you understand this, your mind becomes lighter. You stop carrying the weight of things you were never meant to carry. You stop trying to fix every opinion, every uncertainty, and every possible future. You begin to ask a more peaceful question. What can I do right now with wisdom? This question brings you back to your power. Negative thinking often sounds like this. What if they leave? What if I fail? What if people judge me? What if I never succeed? What if life never changes? But awareness answers differently. Awareness says, I do not know everything that will happen, but I can take care of this moment. I can choose my next action. I can keep my heart steady. I can do what is right without losing myself in fear. This is the Buddhist way of freedom. You do not need to know the whole road to take the next step. You do not need to control the whole future to live today with peace. You do not need everyone to understand you before you respect yourself. You do not need life to be perfect before you stop torturing your own mind. Sometimes the mind keeps holding on because it believes holding on will change the situation. But holding on to worry does not change the future. Holding on to anger does not change the past. Holding on to fear does not make life safer. It only makes your inner world heavier. You may think you are protecting yourself, but you are actually keeping yourself inside the same pain. Imagine holding a hot coal in your hand because you are angry at someone. You may want the other person to suffer, but you are the one getting burned. This is what happens when you hold on to what you cannot control. You hold on to resentment, regret, fear, and expectation. But the person who suffers most is you. Letting go is not saying that what happened was right. Letting go is saying, I will not keep burning myself with this. Many people confuse letting go with losing. They think, if I let go, it means I lost. But sometimes letting go is how you win your peace back. You may not get the apology you wanted. You may not get the explanation you deserved. You may not get the result you hoped for. But you can still get your mind back. You can still get your peace back. You can still stop allowing one situation to control your whole inner life. Buddhism teaches impermanence. Everything changes. Good moments change. Bad moments change. Pain changes. Emotions change. People change. Seasons change. The problem is not change itself. The problem is when the mind clings to something and says, this must stay the same. When life changes, the attached mind suffers, but the wise mind learns to flow. This does not mean you never feel pain. Of course you will feel pain. You are human. You may feel sadness when someone leaves. You may feel disappointment when something fails. You may feel fear when the future is unclear. Buddhism does not ask you to become emotionless. It asks you to become aware. Feel what you feel, but do not become imprisoned by it. Let the emotion pass through you without building your whole identity around it. When you are trying to control something, your body often feels tight. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your thoughts become fast. Your heart feels heavy. You start creating imaginary conversations. You start predicting problems. You start preparing for pain that has not even arrived. This is the sign that your mind is no longer living in reality. It is living in control. In that moment, pause and breathe. Ask yourself, am I holding something that is not in my control? Maybe you are holding someone's opinion. Maybe you are holding tomorrow's uncertainty. Maybe you are holding an old mistake. Maybe you are holding the desire for someone to change. Maybe you are holding a result that life has not given you yet. Whatever it is, notice it gently. Do not judge yourself. Just see it clearly. Then ask yourself, what is actually in my control right now? This question is simple, but it brings you back to peace. Maybe what is in your control is your next breath. Maybe it is your attitude. Maybe it is sending one honest message. Maybe it is doing your work for today. Maybe it is resting instead of overthinking. Maybe it is choosing silence instead of reacting. Maybe it is taking one small step instead of trying to solve your entire life. The mind becomes calmer when it has a clear place to put its energy. When you waste your energy on what you cannot control, you feel powerless. But when you return your energy to what you can control, you feel grounded again. This is why letting go is not empty. It is not passive. It is a return to right effort. Right effort means you do your part without becoming attached to everything else. You plant the seed, but you do not pull the plant every day to force it to grow faster. You water it. You give it sunlight. You protect it. Then you allow time to do what only time can do. This is how life works too. You do your part with sincerity, and then you allow life to unfold. If you are always trying to force results, you will live in constant frustration. Some things need time. Some answers come slowly. Some people reveal themselves gradually. Some wounds heal in silence. Some paths become clear only after you have walked a little further. The negative mind hates this because it wants everything now. But wisdom understands patience. Letting go also means releasing the need to be understood by everyone. Many people suffer because they keep trying to explain themselves to people who are committed to misunderstanding them. They keep thinking, if I explain one more time, maybe they will see my heart. But not everyone will understand you. Not everyone will value your intentions. Not everyone will see your truth. And if your peace depends on convincing everyone, you will never rest. You can speak with honesty, but after that, let go. You can show your heart, but after that, let go. You can explain once with calmness, but do not spend your whole life begging people to see what they refuse to see. Buddhism teaches peace through non-attachment, and sometimes non-attachment means releasing the need to control how others view you. Letting go also means releasing the past. The past has already happened. You can learn from it, but you cannot live there forever. Many people keep punishing themselves for what they did not know before. They say, I should have chosen differently. I should have spoken differently. I should have seen the truth earlier. But at that time, you acted with the awareness you had. Now you have more awareness. Use it to grow, not to torture yourself. Regret can be useful if it teaches you, but regret becomes poison when it becomes your home. Learn the lesson, bow to the past, and return to the present. You cannot rewrite yesterday, but you can live today with more wisdom. This is how you honor your past without becoming trapped by it. Letting go also means releasing fear of the future. The future is unknown, and the mind does not like the unknown. It tries to fill the unknown with worst-case stories. It says, something bad will happen. You will not survive. You will lose everything. You are not ready. But most of the things the mind fears never happen exactly the way it imagines. And even when life becomes difficult, you often discover strength inside yourself that fear did not tell you about. You do not need to suffer 10 times before the problem even arrives. If a difficulty comes, you will meet it then. You will breathe then. You will choose then. You will respond then. But today, do not spend your whole life paying pain in advance. Worry does not protect tomorrow. It only steals today. Buddhism invites you to live with open hands. Hold life gently, love gently, work gently, hope gently. When something comes, receive it with gratitude. When something goes, release it with wisdom. This does not mean you feel nothing. It means you do not chain your soul to anything that is always changing. A peaceful person is not someone who controls everything. A peaceful person is someone who has learned how to remain steady even when everything is not under control. They understand that peace is not created by perfect circumstances. Peace is created by a wise relationship with circumstances. So, when your mind says, "I must control this," answer with awareness, "I will do my part, and I will release the rest." When your mind says, "What if it does not happen the way I want?" answer, "Then I will meet life with patience." When your mind says, "I cannot handle uncertainty," answer, "I can breathe through this moment." When your mind says, "I need everything to be perfect before I can feel peace," answer, "Peace begins now, not when life becomes perfect." The more you practice this, the more your mind begins to relax. It stops seeing every uncertainty as danger. It stops chasing every outcome with fear. It stops trying to control every person, every situation, and every possibility. Slowly, your mind learns that safety does not come from controlling life. Safety comes from trusting your ability to meet life with awareness. This is real freedom, not a life where nothing goes wrong, but a mind that does not collapse every time something changes. Not a life where everyone understands you, but a heart that does not lose itself when others misunderstand. Not a life where the future is guaranteed, but a spirit that can walk forward without being ruled by fear. Let go of what you cannot control, not because it is easy, but because holding it is destroying your peace. Let go of the need to force people. Let go of the need to rewrite the past. Let go of the need to predict every future problem. Let go of the belief that your life must happen exactly as you planned before you can be calm. Return to what is yours. Your breath is yours. Your response is yours. Your effort is yours. Your patience is yours. Your awareness is yours. Your next step is yours. Put your energy there, and your mind will slowly come out of the prison of negative thinking. The moment you stop fighting what you cannot control, you begin to feel space inside your heart. The mind becomes softer. The body becomes lighter. The breath becomes deeper. You may still have problems, but you are no longer adding unnecessary suffering on top of them. This is the wisdom of letting go. You stop trying to hold the whole world in your hands, and you finally hold your own peace with care. You stop demanding that life obey your fear, and you begin walking with life as it is. You stop being a prisoner of control, and you become a student of peace. Let go, not because nothing matters, but because your peace matters too. Let go, not because you are weak, but because you are wise enough to know what is yours to carry and what must be released. Let go, and you will see that the mind becomes free when it stops holding what it was never meant to control. 7. Train your mind every day, not only when you are suffering. A peaceful mind is not created in one day. It is trained slowly, gently, and repeatedly. Many people only think about healing their mind when they are already drowning in pain. They wait until anxiety becomes too heavy, overthinking becomes too loud, and negative thoughts become too strong. Then they try to become peaceful in one moment. But Buddhism teaches that peace is not something you practice only when life becomes painful. Peace is something you build every day before the storm comes. The mind becomes what it repeatedly practices. If you practice worry every morning, your mind becomes good at worrying. If you practice fear every day, your mind becomes fast at creating fear. If you practice anger again and again, anger becomes your natural reaction. If you practice self-doubt every time you face difficulty, doubt becomes your habit. But the same is also true for peace. If you practice awareness, awareness becomes stronger. If you practice patience, patience becomes easier. If you practice compassion, compassion becomes more natural. If you practice returning to the present moment, your mind slowly learns how to come back home. This is why training your mind every day is so important. You cannot expect your mind to become calm in a crisis if you never teach it calmness in ordinary moments. You cannot expect yourself to think clearly in pain if you never practice awareness when life is quiet. You cannot expect negative thoughts to lose power if you feed them every day and only challenge them when they become unbearable. The mind needs daily guidance, just like the body needs daily care. Buddhism does not teach quick escape. It teaches daily practice. It teaches you to sit with your mind, understand it, watch it, soften it, and guide it again and again. The goal is not to force the mind to become empty. The goal is to stop being controlled by every thought that appears. Thoughts will come, fear will come, doubt will come, old memories will come. But when the mind is trained, you do not immediately become a prisoner of them. You notice them, breathe, and return to awareness. Think about a person who wants to become physically strong. They cannot exercise one day and expect the body to change forever. Strength comes from repetition. In the same way, mental freedom comes from daily repetition. One mindful breath may seem small, but it is training. One moment of patience may seem small, but it is training. One time you stop yourself from repeating a painful story may seem small, but it is training. One time you choose silence instead of reacting may seem small, but it is training. Every day, your mind is learning something. The question is, what are you teaching it? Are you teaching it to panic about everything? Are you teaching it to expect the worst? Are you teaching it to attack you with cruel words? Are you teaching it to live in yesterday and fear tomorrow? Or are you teaching it to return to the present, breathe with patience, and see thoughts as passing clouds? Most people do not train their mind consciously. They allow the world to train it for them. The noise of social media trains their mind to compare. The opinions of others train their mind to feel insecure. Past pain trains their mind to expect betrayal. Failure trains their mind to fear trying again. Rejection trains their mind to doubt their worth. Slowly, without realizing it, their mind becomes shaped by everything outside them. Then they wonder why they feel restless inside. A Buddhist way of living begins when you take responsibility for your inner world. You stop allowing every situation to decide the condition of your mind. You stop allowing every thought to become your master. You stop allowing every emotion to pull you wherever it wants. You begin to understand that your mind is like a room. If you never clean it, dust will gather. If you never open the windows, the air will become heavy. If you never remove what is harmful, the space will become painful to live in. Training your mind is like cleaning that inner room every day. Morning is a powerful time to train the mind, because the first thoughts of the day often shape the direction of the whole day. Many people wake up and immediately reach for stress. They check messages, compare their life, remember yesterday's problems, and begin the day with pressure. Before their feet even touch the ground, their mind is already full of worry. Then, they carry that heaviness into everything they do. Instead, begin your morning with awareness. Before you enter the noise of the world, sit quietly for a few moments. Take a slow breath. Feel that you are alive. Remind yourself, today I will not believe every negative thought. Today I will return to the present moment. Today I will speak to myself with kindness. Today I will do what is in my control and release what is not in my control. This simple practice may not look big from the outside, but inside the mind, it creates direction. You do not need a perfect meditation place to train your mind. You do not need a silent mountain, a temple, or hours of free time. You can begin with 1 minute of true awareness. You can sit on your bed, close your eyes, breathe slowly, and notice your thoughts without fighting them. You can stand near a window and simply watch your breath. You can walk slowly and feel each step. The practice is not about looking spiritual. The practice is about becoming present. During the day, your training continues. The real test of the mind does not happen only when you sit quietly. It happens when someone speaks harshly to you. It happens when plans change. It happens when you feel ignored. It happens when fear appears. It happens when a mistake happens. It happens when your mind starts telling you that you are not enough. These moments are not only problems, they are opportunities to train. When a negative thought appears, do not follow it blindly. Pause and notice it. Say to yourself, "A thought has appeared." This small sentence creates distance between you and the thought. You are no longer saying, "This is me." You are saying, "This is something moving through my mind." That distance is freedom. It gives you the space to choose your response. If the mind says, "Everything is going wrong," pause and breathe. Ask, "Is everything really going wrong, or is my mind overwhelmed?" If the mind says, "I always fail," pause and ask, "Is this true, or am I remembering one painful moment?" If the mind says, "Nobody cares about me," pause and ask, "Is this the whole truth, or is loneliness speaking?" This is how you train the mind to stop turning thoughts into facts. Training your mind also means watching the words you repeat to yourself. Your inner language matters. If you keep saying, "I am broken," your mind will live as if healing is impossible. If you keep saying, "I cannot handle life," your mind will become weaker in front of difficulty. If you keep saying, "Nothing good happens to me," your mind will stop noticing small blessings. The words you repeat become the atmosphere of your inner world. Speak to your mind with wisdom. Say, "I am learning." Say, "I can take one step." Say, "This moment is hard, but it will pass." Say, "I do not need to solve everything right now." Say, "I can feel this without becoming trapped in it." These words are not empty. They are training. They teach the mind a new way to respond. Buddhism teaches that everything is impermanent. This means even your negative thinking is not permanent. Your fear can change. Your sadness can change. Your habits can change. Your reactions can change. But change needs practice. If you have spent years training your mind to worry, do not hate yourself because peace takes time. Be patient. Every time you return to awareness, you are building a new path inside yourself. Sometimes you will practice well, and sometimes you will forget. This is normal. You may begin the day with peace and still lose your calm later. You may promise yourself not to overthink, and then find yourself overthinking again. Do not use this as another reason to attack yourself. The path of training the mind is not about never falling. It is about returning every time you fall. A person who meditates is not someone who never gets distracted. A person who meditates is someone who notices distraction and returns. In the same way, a peaceful person is not someone who never has negative thoughts. A peaceful person is someone who notices negative thoughts and returns to awareness. Returning is the practice. Returning is the strength. Returning is how the prison begins to open. You must also train your mind through what you allow into it. If you fill your mind every day with fear, comparison, anger, and noise, do not be surprised when peace becomes difficult. The mind absorbs what it repeatedly touches. If you constantly watch things that make you anxious, listen to words that make you angry, and spend time around energy that drains you, your mind will become heavy. Protecting your mind is part of training your mind. This does not mean you run away from life. It means you become careful with your inner space. You choose what deserves your attention. You choose what kind of conversations you join. You choose how much time you give to things that disturb your peace. You choose whether to keep replaying painful memories or return to the present. Attention is one of the most powerful things you have. Wherever your attention goes, your energy follows. Training the mind also means learning to sit with discomfort without immediately reacting. Many negative thoughts become powerful because we react too quickly. We feel fear, so we run. We feel anger, so we speak harshly. We feel sadness, so we create a story. We feel uncertainty, so we try to control everything. But if you can pause for even a few seconds, you create a space where wisdom can enter. That pause is powerful. In that pause, you can breathe. In that pause, you can choose silence instead of regret. In that pause, you can choose patience instead of panic. In that pause, you can choose awareness instead of being controlled. The more you practice this pause, the stronger your mind becomes. Do not underestimate small daily moments. Washing your hands can become mindfulness. Drinking water can become mindfulness. Walking from one room to another can become mindfulness. Listening to someone without planning your reply can become mindfulness. Eating slowly can become mindfulness. Breathing before you speak can become mindfulness. These small moments teach your mind to stay awake instead of living on automatic reaction. At night, train your mind again by releasing the day. Many people take the whole day's weight into their sleep. They lie down and start replaying every mistake, every conversation, every worry, and every fear. The body is trying to rest, but the mind is still fighting. This creates more tiredness, and the next morning begins with the same heaviness. Before sleeping, take a few quiet moments. Breathe deeply and say to yourself, "This day is complete. I can learn from it, but I do not need to carry it all night." Think of one thing you are grateful for, even if it is small. Think of one thing you handled better than before. Forgive yourself for what was imperfect. Let the day end. This is how you teach the mind that rest is safe. Training your mind every day also means understanding that peace is not a final destination where you arrive once and never struggle again. Peace is a practice you return to. Some days will feel calm. Some days will feel heavy. Some days your thoughts will be quiet. Some days they will be loud. But your practice remains the same. Notice, breathe, understand, release, return. Do not wait for life to become perfect before you train your mind. Life will always have changes. People will always have opinions. The future will always have uncertainty. The past will always have memories. If you wait for everything outside you to become peaceful before you practice peace, you may wait your whole life. Buddhism teaches that peace begins inside the way you meet life, not only when life becomes easy. This is why daily training is freedom. It gives you strength before suffering arrives. It gives you awareness before anger controls you. It gives you patience before fear becomes too loud. It gives you compassion before self-hatred begins. It gives you wisdom before the mind creates a prison again. Every day, ask yourself, what kind of mind am I building? This question can change your life. Are you building a mind that believes every fear? Are you building a mind that lives in regret? Are you building a mind that attacks itself? Or are you building a mind that observes, breathes, lets go, and returns to peace? You do not need to become perfect. You only need to become consistent. A little awareness every day is better than deep practice once in a while. A small moment of peace repeated daily becomes a strong foundation. A kind word to yourself repeated daily becomes a new inner voice. A daily breath before reaction becomes a new way of living. The prison of negative thinking was not built in one moment. It was built through repetition, repeated fear, repeated regret, repeated self-doubt, repeated painful stories. So it will also be opened through repetition, repeated awareness, repeated compassion, repeated patience, repeated letting go, repeated return to the present moment. One day, you will notice something beautiful. The thoughts that once controlled you will still appear, but they will not have the same power. Fear may come, but you will not immediately obey it. Regret may come, but you will not live inside it. Self-doubt may come, but you will not call it truth. Worry may come, but you will know how to return to your breath. This is not because your mind became empty. It is because your awareness became stronger. You trained yourself not to be dragged by every thought. You trained yourself to see the thought, understand it, and let it pass. You trained yourself to live from wisdom instead of fear. Never forget this. Freedom from negative thinking does not mean negative thoughts never visit you. It means they no longer own you. It means they no longer decide your worth. It means they no longer control your actions. It means they no longer turn your mind into a prison. Train your mind when life is peaceful, so it can guide you when life becomes difficult. Train your mind in small moments, so it can support you in big moments. Train your mind every morning, every afternoon, and every night through awareness, kindness, patience, and presence. Your mind can become your prison, but it can also become your path to freedom. The difference is daily practice. Every breath is a chance to return. Every thought is a chance to observe. Every difficult moment is a chance to grow. Every day is a chance to train the mind that you must live with for the rest of your life. So begin today. Not with pressure, but with patience. Not with self-hatred, but with compassion. Not with the desire to become perfect, but with the willingness to return again and again. A peaceful mind is built one breath at a time, one choice at a time, one moment of awareness at a time. And when you train your mind every day, you slowly stop being a prisoner of negative thinking. You become the watcher of your thoughts, the guide of your emotions, and the protector of your own peace. This is how inner freedom begins. This is how the prison opens. This is how you learn to live with a mind that no longer destroys you, but gently leads you back home. Never be a prisoner of your mind again. There comes a moment in life when you must stop believing every thought that tries to hurt you. You must stop giving your mind permission to turn one painful memory into your whole identity, one difficult day into your whole life, and one fear into your future. The mind is powerful, but it is not always truthful. Sometimes the mind speaks from wisdom, but sometimes it speaks from wounds. Sometimes it protects you, but sometimes it imprisons you. This is why Buddhism teaches awareness, because without awareness, you may spend your whole life obeying thoughts that were never meant to guide you. Negative thinking feels strong because it repeats itself. It comes again and again until it sounds like truth. It tells you that you are not enough. It tells you that your life will never change. It tells you that the past has ruined you. It tells you that people will leave, that failure will happen, that peace is impossible, and that you must keep worrying to stay safe. But the truth is, worrying all day does not make life safer. Replaying pain does not heal the wound. Attacking yourself does not make you stronger. Living inside fear does not protect your future. It only steals your present moment. Buddhism reminds us that the mind is not meant to be followed blindly. The mind must be observed. When a thought appears, you do not have to run after it. You do not have to believe it. You do not have to build a story around it. You can simply notice it and say, "A thought has appeared." This small moment of awareness creates space, and in that space, freedom begins. You realize that you are not the thought. You are the one who is watching the thought. You are not the storm. You are the awareness that can see the storm passing. This understanding changes everything. If you are not your thoughts, then you do not have to become trapped by them. If you are not your fear, then fear does not have to make your choices. If you are not your past, then the past does not have to decide your future. If you are not your pain, then pain does not have to become your identity. You can feel something without becoming it. You can remember something without living inside it. You can think something without making it the truth of your life. Many people suffer because they believe the mind must become completely silent before they can feel peace. But peace does not mean there are no thoughts. Peace means thoughts no longer control you. Peace means a negative thought can appear, and you do not immediately fall into it. Peace means fear can knock on the door, but you do not have to open the door and give it your whole day. Peace means the past can visit your memory, but you do not have to return and live there again. Peace means the future can feel uncertain, but you can still breathe in this moment and take the next step with patience. Never be a prisoner of your mind again means you stop allowing every inner voice to rule your life. It means you stop letting the mind drag you into regret when the present moment is asking for your attention. It means you stop letting worry steal the life you are living right now. It means you stop treating every negative thought like a command. A thought can say, "Give up," but you can still continue. A thought can say, "You are weak," but you can still act with strength. A thought can say, "Nothing will change," but you can still take one step toward change. This is the power of awareness. Awareness does not always remove the thought immediately, but it removes your blind obedience to the thought. It gives you the ability to pause. It gives you the ability to breathe. It gives you the ability to choose. And when you can choose, you are no longer fully trapped. The prison begins to break because the door was always opened by awareness. You must understand that negative thoughts often become stronger because you feed them. A painful thought may enter the mind for a moment, but when you keep repeating it, analyzing it, imagining it, and adding fear to it, it becomes bigger. The mind takes one small spark and turns it into a fire. You remember what happened, then you imagine what could happen, then you judge yourself, then you blame life, then you begin to believe the whole world is against you. This is how suffering grows. But you can stop feeding the fire. You can notice the thought and choose not to add more pain to it. You can say, "I see this thought, but I will not follow it today." You can say, "I feel this fear, but I will not build my whole life around it." You can say, "This memory hurts, but I will not keep reopening the wound every hour." This is not ignoring your pain. This is protecting your peace. You are not denying what happened. You are only refusing to let what happened continue hurting you every day inside your mind. Buddhism teaches that attention is powerful. What you keep watering will grow. If you water fear, fear grows. If you water anger, anger grows. If you water regret, regret grows. But if you water awareness, awareness grows. If you water compassion, compassion grows. If you water patience, patience grows. If you water peace, peace grows. Your mind becomes shaped by what you repeatedly give your attention to. This is why you must become careful with your inner garden. Do not let every weed grow just because it appeared. Do not let every fear take root just because it entered your mind. Do not let every painful memory become the center of your life. Notice what is growing inside you. Notice what you are feeding. Notice what kind of thoughts you are allowing to take space in your heart. The mind is not healed by accident. It is healed by daily awareness. Returning to the present moment is one of the deepest ways to escape the prison of negative thinking. Most mental suffering is created when the mind leaves now. It runs backward and brings regret. It runs forward and brings worry. It keeps asking, "Why did that happen?" and "What if this happens?" But while the mind is running, life is still happening here. The breath is here. The body is here. The sky is here. This moment is here. Peace is not found by escaping life. Peace is found by returning to the life that is actually happening. When your thoughts become too loud, come back to one breath. Do not try to solve your entire life at once. Do not try to answer every fear. Do not try to fix every memory. Just breathe and return to now. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your hands. Notice the room around you. Remind yourself, this is the moment I am living. This is the moment I can handle. The mind may try to pull you away again, but you can return again. Every return is a victory. The present moment does not always remove your problems, but it stops your mind from adding unnecessary suffering. You may still need to face something difficult, but you do not need to face it with a mind full of imagined disasters. You may still need to heal from the past, but you do not need to keep living in the past every day. You may still need to plan for the future, but you do not need to suffer from a future that has not arrived. The present moment gives you ground. It gives you clarity. It gives you a place to stand. Another important part of freedom is releasing the painful stories you have attached to yourself. Many people do not realize that they are not only thinking negatively, they are identifying with their negative thoughts. They say, I am broken, I am unlucky, I always fail, nobody loves me, I will never be enough. These are not just thoughts, they become labels. And when the mind believes a label for too long, it starts living as if that label is truth. But Buddhism teaches that everything changes. Nothing is fixed forever. Your pain is not permanent. Your fear is not permanent. Your sadness is not permanent. Your habits are not permanent. Even the way you see yourself can change. You are not forced to remain the person your pain convinced you to become. You are not required to carry old wounds as your name. You can learn from what happened without making it your identity. There is a difference between saying, I experienced failure, and saying, I am a failure. There is a difference between saying, someone hurt me, and saying, I am unworthy of love. There is a difference between saying, I feel afraid, and saying, I am weak. The first statement observes an experience. The second statement creates a prison. Be careful with the words you use about yourself, because your mind listens. Do not introduce yourself to life through your wounds. Do not let one painful chapter convince you that the whole book is ruined. Do not let someone else's rejection become your permanent identity. Do not let a past mistake become the voice that follows you everywhere. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to heal. You are allowed to grow into someone who no longer lives from fear. The past may explain some of your pain, but it does not have the right to control your whole future. Compassion toward your own mind is also necessary. You cannot hate yourself into peace. You cannot insult your mind into calmness. You cannot punish yourself into healing. Many people become their own enemy when they struggle. They say, why am I like this? Why am I so weak? Why can't I stop thinking? But this only creates more suffering. A mind that is already wounded does not heal through cruelty. It heals through understanding, patience, and gentle guidance. When negative thoughts appear, speak to yourself like someone you are trying to help, not someone you are trying to destroy. Say, I know I am afraid, but I do not have to live inside fear. Say, this is difficult, but I can breathe through it. Say, I am learning how to be peaceful. Say, this thought is painful, but it is not my whole truth. This kind of inner speech may feel small, but it slowly changes the atmosphere of your mind. A harsh mind becomes more restless. A compassionate mind becomes safer. When your inner world feels safe, your thoughts do not need to scream as loudly. Your fear does not need to fight so hard. Your pain does not need to hide. Compassion creates space for healing. It does not mean you become weak. It means you stop making your suffering worse by attacking yourself while you are already hurting. Letting go of what you cannot control is another key to freedom. Much negative thinking comes from trying to control what cannot be controlled. You try to control what people think. You try to control how someone behaves. You try to control whether the future will be easy. You try to control the exact timing of life. But the more you try to control what is not in your hands, the more your mind becomes exhausted. Buddhism teaches that attachment creates suffering because everything outside you can change. People change, plans change, seasons change, feelings change, situations change. If your peace depends on everything staying exactly the way you want, then your peace will always be fragile. Letting go does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop holding your peace hostage to things you cannot force. Do your part with sincerity, then release the rest. Speak honestly, but release the need to be understood by everyone. Work hard, but release the need to control every result. Love deeply, but release the need to possess. Plan wisely, but release the belief that life must follow your exact plan. You can hold life with open hands. You can care without clinging. You can act without being consumed by the outcome. When the mind says, "I must control this," pause and ask, "What is truly in my control?" Your response is in your control. Your effort is in your control. Your patience is in your control. Your next step is in your control. Your breath is in your control. Put your energy there. Stop spending your life trying to control the uncontrollable while neglecting the things that actually belong to you. And finally, train your mind every day. Do not wait until suffering becomes heavy before you practice peace. Do not wait until anxiety becomes loud before you practice breathing. Do not wait until your thoughts become a storm before you practice awareness. A peaceful mind is built in small daily moments. One breath, one pause, one kind word to yourself. One moment of silence before reacting. One choice to return to the present. Every day you are training your mind in something. If you repeat fear, you train fear. If you repeat worry, you train worry. If you repeat self-hatred, you train self-hatred. But if you repeat awareness, you train freedom. If you repeat compassion, you train healing. If you repeat patience, you train peace. The mind learns through repetition, so choose carefully what you repeat. Begin your day with awareness. Before the world fills your mind with noise, sit with yourself for a moment. Breathe slowly. Remind yourself, today I will not believe every negative thought. Today I will return to the present. Today I will speak to myself with kindness. Today I will do what is in my control and release what is not. This is how you guide the mind before the day begins. During the day, practice pausing. When someone upsets you, pause. When fear appears, pause. When the mind starts creating a painful story, pause. This pause is powerful because it gives wisdom a chance to enter. Without a pause, you react from habit. With a pause, you respond from awareness. The more you practice this, the more your mind becomes steady. At night, release the day. Do not carry every mistake into your sleep. Do not replay every conversation. Do not punish yourself with what you cannot change. Breathe and say, "This day is complete. I can learn from it, but I do not need to carry it all night." Let your mind rest. Rest is also part of healing. Never be a prisoner of your mind again does not mean your mind will never produce negative thoughts. It means you will no longer bow to them as your master. It means you will no longer let fear make every decision. It means you will no longer let regret steal every peaceful moment. It means you will no longer let self-doubt define your worth. It means you will no longer live as if every thought is a command. Freedom is not the absence of thoughts. Freedom is the ability to see thoughts clearly and choose wisely. A negative thought may come, but you can watch it pass. Fear may come, but you can breathe through it. Sadness may come, but you can hold it with compassion. Uncertainty may come, but you can meet it one step at a time. This is real inner strength. You are not trapped forever. The prison of negative thinking may feel strong, but it was built by repeated thoughts, and it can be opened by repeated awareness. Every time you notice a thought instead of becoming it, the prison weakens. Every time you return to the present moment, the prison weakens. Every time you speak kindly to yourself, the prison weakens. Every time you release what you cannot control, the prison weakens. One day, you will realize that the same thoughts still come, but they no longer control you like before. The mind may still whisper fear, but you will not immediately obey. The past may still visit, but you will not live there. The future may still feel uncertain, but you will not destroy today because of tomorrow. You will still be human, but you will be freer. This is the beauty of Buddhist wisdom. It does not promise a life without problems. It teaches you how to stop becoming a prisoner inside the problems. It does not promise a mind without thoughts. It teaches you how to stop being controlled by thoughts. It does not tell you to escape life. It teaches you how to meet life with awareness, patience, and peace. So let this be the moment you begin again. Stop feeding the thoughts that hurt you. Stop calling pain your identity. Stop chasing control over things that do not belong to you. Stop punishing yourself for being human. Come back to your breath. Come back to your body. Come back to this moment. Come back to the quiet awareness inside you that has been waiting beneath all the noise. Your mind can become a prison, but it can also become a path. It can trap you in fear, or it can guide you toward freedom. It can repeat suffering, or it can learn peace. It can hold old wounds, or it can open space for healing. The direction depends on what you practice, what you feed, and what you choose to believe. Never be a prisoner of your mind again. Let thoughts come and go like clouds in the sky. Let fear rise and fall like waves in the ocean. Let the past become a teacher, not a cage. Let the future become a path, not a punishment. Let this moment become your home. You are not your negative thoughts. You are the awareness that can see them. You are the breath that can calm them. You are the wisdom that can guide them. You are the compassion that can heal them. And when you remember this, the prison begins to open, not from the outside, but from within. Peace was never far away. It was hidden beneath the thoughts you kept believing. Freedom was never impossible. It was waiting in the moment you stopped obeying every fear. The mind may speak, but you do not have to follow every voice. The thoughts may come, but you do not have to become their prisoner. Breathe, notice, release, return. This is the path. This is the practice. This is how you escape the prison of negative thinking and begin living with a mind that no longer destroys your peace, but gently leads you back to yourself. 9. Rebuild your inner world with right thoughts. After you begin escaping the prison of negative thinking, the next step is not only to remove painful thoughts. The next step is to rebuild your inner world with right thoughts, because the mind cannot stay empty for long. If you remove fear but do not practice wisdom, fear will return. If you stop repeating old pain but do not plant new understanding, the same painful stories may grow again. This is why Buddhism does not only teach us to let go, it also teaches us to cultivate the mind. Your inner world is shaped by what you repeat every day. The thoughts you repeat become your beliefs become your reactions become your habits become the way you experience life. So if the mind has been trained for years to expect pain, failure, rejection, and disappointment, it will not become peaceful only because you want peace. You must patiently teach it a new way of seeing. This is where right thought becomes important. In Buddhism, right thought does not mean forcing yourself to be positive all the time. It does not mean pretending that pain does not exist. It does not mean smiling while your heart is tired. Right thought means learning to think with wisdom instead of fear, with compassion instead of cruelty, and with awareness instead of blind reaction. A negative mind says, "This problem will destroy me." A wiser mind says, "This problem is difficult, but I can meet it one step at a time." A negative mind says, "I made a mistake, so I am a failure." A wiser mind says, "I made a mistake, and I can learn from it." A negative mind says, "People left me, so I am not worthy." A wiser mind says, "Some people left, but my worth is not decided by who stays." This is not fake positivity. This is right understanding. Many people think they are being realistic when they think negatively, but negative thinking is not always reality. Sometimes negative thinking is only fear wearing the mask of truth. It says, "I am just being honest," but it is only showing you the darkest possibility. It says, "I am only preparing you," but it is actually training you to suffer before anything has happened. Real wisdom sees both pain and possibility. It does not deny difficulty, but it also does not worship difficulty. To rebuild your inner world, you must become aware of the thoughts you allow to live inside you. Ask yourself, what am I repeating every day? Are you repeating that you are not enough? Are you repeating that life is against you? Are you repeating that nothing will change? Are you repeating that your past has ruined you? If you repeat these thoughts daily, they become the atmosphere of your mind. You may not even notice them anymore, but they will shape the way you feel, the way you act, and the way you see yourself. Buddhism teaches that the mind is like fertile ground. Whatever seeds are planted there will grow if they are watered. If you plant seeds of fear, you will experience more fear. If you plant seeds of anger, anger will grow roots. If you plant seeds of regret, the past will keep living inside you. But if you plant seeds of patience, awareness, forgiveness, and wisdom, your inner world begins to change. Slowly, the mind becomes less like a prison and more like a quiet garden. But you must be patient with this process. A garden does not become beautiful in one day. If weeds have grown there for many years, you cannot remove everything in one morning. You must return again and again. You remove one weed, you plant one seed, you water what is healthy, you protect what is growing. The same is true for the mind. You do not heal negative thinking by becoming angry at yourself. You heal it by returning every day with patience and care. When a painful thought comes, do not only push it away, replace it with a wiser thought. If your mind says, "I cannot handle this," gently answer, "I can handle this moment." If your mind says, "Everything is falling apart," answer, "Some things are difficult, but I can still breathe and take the next step." If your mind says, "I am behind everyone," answer, "My path does not need to look like someone else's path." If your mind says, "I will never find peace," answer, "Peace begins with this breath." This is how you rebuild the mind, not by fighting every thought with force, but by guiding the mind back to truth. A negative thought may be loud, but wisdom can still be stronger if you practice it daily. At first, the old thought may feel more believable because you have repeated it for so long, but do not be discouraged. The mind believes what it hears often. If you begin repeating wisdom, peace, and compassion, the mind will slowly learn a new language. Many people are kind to others but cruel to themselves. They would never speak to a friend the way they speak to their own mind. If a friend made one mistake, they would not say, "Your life is finished." If a friend was struggling, they would not say, "You are weak." If a friend was afraid, they would not say, "You are hopeless." Yet they say these things to themselves every day. This is why their inner world feels unsafe. To rebuild your mind, you must change the way you speak to yourself. Your inner voice must become less like an enemy and more like a wise teacher. A wise teacher does not lie to you, but also does not destroy you. A wise teacher says, "Yes, you made a mistake, but learn from it." A wise teacher says, "Yes, this is painful, but do not become the pain." A wise teacher says, "Yes, you are afraid, but you can still walk forward." This is the voice you must practice. Right thoughts are not weak thoughts. They are strong because they protect your peace without denying reality. They help you see clearly. They help you stop exaggerating pain. They help you stop making a whole identity out of one moment. They help you stop turning uncertainty into disaster. They help you stop turning other people's behavior into proof of your worth. Imagine your mind as a room where you live every day. If that room is full of fear, shame, regret, and self-hatred, then even a beautiful life outside will feel heavy inside. You may have blessings, but you will not feel them. You may have opportunities, but you will not trust them. You may have love, but you will fear losing it. You may have peace around you, but the mind will not let you rest. This is why the inner room must be cleaned. Cleaning the mind begins with awareness. Notice what enters. Notice what stays. Notice what you keep replaying. Notice what kind of thoughts make you tired. Notice what kind of thoughts make you more patient and clear. You cannot change what you never observe. Once you observe it, you can choose differently. Some thoughts should not be entertained. Some thoughts should be noticed and released. Some thoughts should be questioned. Some thoughts should be replaced. If a thought brings wisdom, keep it. If a thought brings compassion, water it. If a thought brings patience, practice it. But if a thought only brings fear, shame, anger, and hopelessness, do not build your home around it. This does not mean you suppress your feelings. Buddhism does not teach emotional denial. If you feel sadness, feel it with awareness. If you feel fear, notice it with compassion. If you feel anger, understand it without letting it control your actions. There is a difference between feeling an emotion and feeding a destructive story. Emotions can pass through you. Stories can trap you for years if you keep repeating them. For example, sadness may come because something hurt you. That is human. But the mind may turn sadness into a story and say, "I will always be alone." Fear may come because the future is uncertain. That is human. But the mind may turn fear into a story and say, "Nothing good will ever happen." Anger may come because someone treated you unfairly. That is human. But the mind may turn anger into a story and say, "I can never trust life again." The emotion is real, but the story may not be true. Right thought helps you separate the emotion from the story. It says, "I feel sadness, but sadness is not my whole life." It says, "I feel fear, but fear is not a prediction." It says, "I feel anger, but anger does not need to become my identity." This is the path of wisdom. You are not rejecting your experience. You are seeing it clearly. The more you practice right thought, the less easily your mind becomes a prison. A problem happens, but you do not immediately say, "My life is over." Someone misunderstands you, but you do not immediately say, "Nobody respects me." A plan fails, but you do not immediately say, "I am a failure." You begin to respond with more balance. You begin to understand that one moment is not the whole story. This balance is very important. Negative thinking often uses extreme language. It says, "always," "never," "everyone," "nothing," and "forever." It says, "I always fail." It says, "Nobody cares." It says, "Nothing works out." It says, "I will never be happy." These words make suffering bigger. They close the mind. They make one painful moment feel like a permanent truth. Right thought brings the mind back to balance. Instead of saying, "I always fail," you say, "This did not work, but I can learn." Instead of saying, "Nobody cares," you say, "I feel lonely right now, but this feeling is not proof that I am unloved." Instead of saying, "Nothing works out," You say, "Some things are difficult now, but life can still change." This is how you loosen the chains of the mind. You must also rebuild your inner world through gratitude. Gratitude is not pretending that life is perfect. Gratitude is training the mind to notice what is still good, even when life is not perfect. A negative mind only counts what is missing. It only remembers what hurt. It only focuses on what went wrong. Gratitude gently teaches the mind to see the whole picture. Even in a difficult season, there may still be a breath in your body, a lesson you learned, a person who cares, a small chance to begin again, a quiet morning, a meal, a place to rest, or one moment of peace. These may seem small, but when you notice them, the mind begins to soften. Gratitude does not remove all pain, but it prevents pain from becoming the only thing you see. Every day, ask yourself, what is one thing I can be thankful for right now? It does not need to be big. Buddhism teaches us to return to simple awareness. Be thankful for the breath. Be thankful for another day. Be thankful for the strength to continue. Be thankful for the lesson that made you wiser. Be thankful for the peace you are learning to protect. The mind that practices gratitude becomes less trapped by lack. Another way to rebuild the inner world is through compassion. Not only compassion toward others, but compassion toward yourself. When you practice right thought, you stop using your mind as a weapon against yourself. You stop saying, "I am stupid." You stop saying, "I am broken." You stop saying, "I ruin everything." Instead, you begin to speak with understanding. You say, "I am learning." You say, "I am healing." You say, "I can grow from this." You say, "I can begin again." These words are not just words, they are seeds. If you plant them often enough, they begin to grow into a different way of living. One day, when a difficult moment comes, your first reaction will not be self-hatred. It will be awareness. Your first reaction will not be panic. It will be breath. Your first reaction will not be hopelessness. It will be patience. This is the fruit of daily inner training. Rebuilding your inner world also requires you to protect your mind from unnecessary noise. The mind becomes what it consumes. If you constantly consume fear, comparison, anger, and negativity, your inner world becomes crowded and heavy. If you constantly listen to people who complain, judge, and spread bitterness, your thoughts may begin to sound like them. If you constantly compare your life to others, you may forget the beauty of your own path. Protecting your mind is not selfish, it is wisdom. You cannot keep allowing everything into your mind and expect to feel peaceful. You must choose what you watch, what you listen to, what you repeat, and what you give your attention to. Your attention is your life energy. Do not spend it on things that poison your peace. This does not mean you avoid the world. It means you move through the world with awareness. You can hear negative things without letting them become your home. You can face problems without letting them become your identity. You can see other people succeed without using it to attack yourself. You can be aware of suffering in the world without allowing your mind to drown in helplessness. A strong mind is not a mind that never sees darkness. A strong mind is a mind that knows how to keep a lamp burning inside the darkness. That lamp is awareness. That lamp is right thought. That lamp is compassion. That lamp is patience. When these qualities are alive inside you, negative thinking cannot fully own you. Sometimes you will fall back into old thoughts. This is normal. Do not panic. Do not say, "I am failing again." The path of healing is not a straight line. Some days you will feel peaceful. Some days the old fear will return. Some days you will respond with wisdom. Some days you will react from pain. But every time you notice and return, you are still practicing. Returning is part of the path. Buddhism teaches patience because transformation takes time. A mind that has lived in fear for years needs time to trust peace. A heart that has been hurt needs time to feel safe. A person who has spoken negatively to themselves for years needs time to believe kinder words. So, do not rush yourself. Do not turn healing into another reason to judge yourself. Walk gently, practice daily, return again and again. One of the most beautiful truths is that you can begin again at any moment. You do not need to wait for a new year, a new month, or a perfect day. You can begin again with this breath. You can begin again after one negative thought. You can begin again after a mistake. You can begin again after a difficult morning. The mind may have wandered, but you can return. The day may have started badly, but you can return. The past may have been painful, but you can return. This is the power of the present moment. It is always offering you a door back to yourself. Every breath is a small beginning. Every pause is a small freedom. Every wise thought is a small light. And when you keep choosing these small lights, your inner world begins to change. Rebuilding your inner world with right thoughts means becoming the guardian of your own mind. It means you no longer allow fear to sit on the throne. You no longer allow regret to write your future. You no longer allow shame to define your worth. You no longer allow other people's opinions to become your identity. You begin to choose the thoughts that lead you toward peace, clarity, and freedom. You may not control every thought that appears, but you can decide which thoughts you continue to feed. You may not stop every fear from arising, but you can decide whether fear becomes your master. You may not erase every painful memory, but you can decide whether that memory becomes a lesson or a prison. This is where your power lives. A peaceful mind is not built by accident. It is built by what you practice when nobody is watching. It is built by the quiet decision to breathe instead of panic. It is built by the decision to speak kindly to yourself when the old voice wants to attack. It is built by the decision to return to the present when the past tries to pull you back. It is built by the decision to choose wisdom again and again, even when fear is loud. The more you rebuild your inner world, the more life begins to feel different. Not because everything outside becomes perfect, but because something inside becomes steady. You may still face challenges, but you no longer collapse so easily. You may still feel pain, but you no longer turn pain into identity. You may still have uncertain days, but you no longer make uncertainty your prison. You begin to live with more space inside you. This is real freedom. Not the freedom of controlling everything, but the freedom of not being controlled by every thought. Not the freedom of never feeling fear, but the freedom of walking forward even when fear appears. Not the freedom of never remembering pain, but the freedom of no longer living inside that memory. Not the freedom of a perfect mind, but the freedom of a trained, aware, and compassionate mind. So rebuild your inner world with right thoughts. Plant thoughts that bring peace, water thoughts that bring wisdom, protect thoughts that bring compassion, release thoughts that only bring fear and shame. Do this every day, not with force, but with patience. The mind becomes free when it is guided with awareness. One day, you will notice that your inner voice has changed. It will no longer be the voice that constantly says, "You cannot." It will become the voice that says, "Try one more step." It will no longer say, "You are broken." It will say, "You are healing." It will no longer say, "Everything is hopeless." It will say, "This moment is hard, but it will pass." That day, you will understand that you are no longer living inside the same prison. And this is how you never become a prisoner of your mind again. You do not wait for negative thoughts to disappear forever. You become wise enough not to follow them blindly. You become patient enough to retrain your mind. You become compassionate enough to stop attacking yourself. You become aware enough to choose which thoughts deserve your energy. Your inner world is your home. Do not fill it with thoughts that make you suffer. Fill it with awareness. Fill it with patience. Fill it with forgiveness. Fill it with right understanding. Fill it with the quiet wisdom that says, I am not my thoughts. I am the one who can observe them, guide them, and let them pass. The prison of negative thinking opens when you stop feeding the old thoughts and begin planting new ones. It opens when you stop living as a victim of your own mind and begin becoming the guardian of your peace. It opens when you understand that your mind can be trained, your thoughts can be softened, your inner voice can be changed, and your life can be lived from a place of greater freedom. Breathe deeply and begin again. Rebuild your mind one thought at a time. Rebuild your peace one breath at a time. Rebuild your inner world one moment of awareness at a time. This is the Buddhist path of freedom. This is how the mind becomes a place of peace instead of a place of punishment. This is how you step out of the prison and return to the quiet home within yourself. 10. Choose inner freedom every time the mind creates a cage. There will be many moments in life when your mind tries to build a cage again. Even after you understand negative thinking, even after you practice mindfulness, even after you learn how to breathe, observe, and let go, the mind may still return to its old habits. A small problem may happen, and suddenly the mind begins to create fear. Someone may speak coldly, and the mind begins to create stories. A memory may return, and the mind begins to pull you back into old pain. This is why inner freedom is not something you choose only once. It is something you choose again and again, every time the mind tries to trap you. Buddhism teaches that the mind is conditioned by habit. If you have spent years worrying, the mind will naturally return to worry. If you have spent years doubting yourself, the mind will naturally return to doubt. If you have spent years expecting disappointment, the mind may continue to search for disappointment even when life is offering you peace. This does not mean you are failing. It only means the mind is repeating what it learned, and what has been learned can also be unlearned. Inner freedom begins when you stop being surprised by the mind's old patterns. Instead of saying, "Why am I thinking like this again?" you gently say, "This is an old habit appearing." Instead of hating yourself for overthinking, you notice the overthinking and return to awareness. Instead of believing that one negative day means you have lost all progress, you understand that healing is not a straight line. Some days you will feel strong, and some days the old thoughts will return. But every time you return to peace, you are still walking the path. A negative thought becomes a cage when you believe it without awareness. It says, "You are not enough," and you sit inside that belief. It says, "Nothing will change," and you stop moving. It says, "You will fail," and you become afraid to try. It says, "The past will always hurt you," and you keep living in yesterday. But the moment you recognize the thought as a thought, the cage begins to weaken. You may still hear the voice, but you no longer have to obey it. This is the difference between being trapped and being aware. The trapped mind says, "This thought is true." The aware mind says, "This thought is here, but I do not have to become it." The trapped mind says, "I feel fear, so danger must be real." The aware mind says, "Fear is present, but I can still breathe." The trapped mind says, "I feel pain, so my life is broken." The aware mind says, "Pain is here, but it is not my whole life." This small shift is powerful because it gives you back your freedom. Choosing inner freedom does not mean you deny your emotions. It does not mean you pretend everything is fine when your heart is tired. Buddhism does not teach you to become emotionless. It teaches you to become awake. If sadness comes, you can feel sadness without building a home inside it. If fear comes, you can feel fear without letting it control every choice. If anger comes, you can understand anger without allowing it to speak for you. You are allowed to feel deeply, but you do not have to become imprisoned by what you feel. Many people misunderstand peace. They think peace means life never hurts them again. But real peace is deeper than that. Real peace is when life hurts, and you still do not abandon yourself. Real peace is when fear appears, and you still remain gentle with your own mind. Real peace is when uncertainty comes, and you still take one careful step forward. Real peace is not the absence of difficulty. It is the presence of awareness in the middle of difficulty. The mind creates cages through imagination. It imagines people judging you. It imagines failure before you begin. It imagines rejection before you speak. It imagines loss before anything is gone. Then the body reacts as if these imagined stories are already real. Your chest becomes tight. Your breath becomes shallow. Your energy becomes heavy. You begin suffering from a future that has not arrived. This is why you must bring the mind back to reality. When the mind creates a fearful story, ask yourself, what is actually happening right now? Not what might happen, not what happened years ago, not what fear is predicting. What is actually happening right now? Many times you will realize that the present moment is not as dangerous as the mind is making it. You may be sitting safely in a room, but the mind is running through 10 imagined problems. You may have one challenge in front of you, but the mind has turned it into the end of everything. This question brings you back to the ground. What is actually happening right now? Right now, you are breathing. Right now, you are alive. Right now, you have a choice. Right now, you can take one step. Right now, you do not need to solve the whole future. Right now, you can return to awareness. The mind may want to live in fear, but the body is always living in the present. Come back to the body, and you come back to life. Choosing inner freedom also means refusing to turn every painful moment into a permanent belief. One person may not understand you, but that does not mean nobody will ever understand you. One plan may fail, but that does not mean your whole life is a failure. One bad day may feel heavy, but that does not mean your future is dark. One rejection may hurt, but it does not decide your worth. The negative mind loves to take one moment and make it eternal. Wisdom brings the mind back to balance. This is very important because negative thinking often speaks in extremes. It says, always. It says, never. It says, everything. It says, nobody. It says, forever. These words make suffering heavier. They turn a temporary feeling into a lifetime sentence. If you say, I feel lonely today, there is space for healing. But if you say, I will always be alone, you create a cage. If you say, this situation is difficult, there is space for patience. But if you say, my whole life is difficult, you create a cage. So learn to speak to yourself with balance. Say, this is hard, but it is not everything. Say, I feel afraid, but fear is not truth. Say, I made a mistake, but I am still learning. Say, this moment hurts, but it will pass. Say, my mind is heavy today, but I do not have to become the heaviness. These words guide the mind back to reality. They do not deny pain, but they stop pain from becoming a prison. Buddhism teaches impermanence, and impermanence is one of the greatest keys to inner freedom. Whatever arises will pass. A thought arises, and it passes. A feeling arises, and it passes. A season of life arises, and it passes. Even the pain you once thought would destroy you changed with time. Even the fear you once thought you could not survive eventually became weaker. Everything moves. Everything changes. Nothing stays exactly the same forever. When you remember impermanence, you stop treating every negative thought like a permanent truth. You may feel anxious today, but anxiety is moving. You may feel sadness today, but sadness is moving. You may feel doubt today, but doubt is moving. Do not make a permanent decision based on a passing state of mind. Do not build your identity around an emotion that is only visiting. Let it come. Let it teach. Let it pass. Inner freedom also grows when you stop making your mind your enemy. Many people are trapped not only by negative thoughts, but by the way they react to negative thoughts. A thought appears, and they panic. They think, "Why is this thought here? What is wrong with me? Why can't I be peaceful?" Then the thought becomes heavier because now they are suffering from the thought and from their reaction to the thought. This creates a second layer of suffering. Instead, when a negative thought appears, meet it gently. You can say, "I see you." You can say, "This is fear." You can say, "This is an old wound." You can say, "This thought is trying to protect me, but I do not need to follow it." This kind of response creates softness. It allows the mind to relax. A thought that is noticed with awareness often loses strength. A thought that is attacked with panic often becomes stronger. The mind is like water. If you keep striking the water, it becomes disturbed. If you leave it still, it begins to settle. In the same way, if you fight every thought with anger, the mind becomes more restless. But if you observe with patience, the mind slowly becomes clearer. Clarity does not come from force. It comes from stillness. Choosing inner freedom also means learning when to stop thinking and start living. Some people believe that if they think long enough, they will finally feel safe. They think through every possibility, every risk, every mistake, every conversation, every future problem. But after hours of thinking, they do not feel free. They feel more trapped. This is because overthinking often pretends to be problem-solving, but it is usually fear repeating itself. Real problem-solving brings clarity. Overthinking brings confusion. Real reflection helps you choose a step. Overthinking makes you afraid of every step. Real wisdom makes the mind lighter. Overthinking makes the mind heavier. When your thinking is no longer helping you, stop feeding it. Return to the body. Take a breath. Do one simple thing in the present moment. Wash your face. Walk slowly. Drink water. Clean your space. Write one clear sentence. Take one small action. Action often breaks the cage that overthinking keeps building. The mind wants complete certainty before it moves, but life rarely gives complete certainty. Sometimes you must take the next step while still feeling unsure. Sometimes you must continue while fear is still present. Sometimes you must begin before the mind feels ready. This is not foolish. This is courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is choosing what is wise even while fear is speaking. Buddhism teaches the middle way. This means you do not run from life, and you do not cling to life. You do not deny pain, and you do not drown in pain. You do not force the mind to be silent, and you do not let the mind rule you. You walk with balance. You observe. You breathe. You respond. You return. This balanced path is how you remain free, even when life is uncertain. There will be days when the mind says, "You are back where you started." Do not believe it. If you can notice the thought, you are not back where you started. If you can pause before reacting, you are not back where you started. If you can speak to yourself with even a little more kindness than before, you are not back where you started. Progress is not always loud. Sometimes progress is simply recognizing the old prison before you walk fully inside it. Every time you choose awareness over automatic reaction, you are free. Every time you choose breath over panic, you are free. Every time you choose compassion over self-hatred, you are free. Every time you choose the present moment over old suffering, you are free. Freedom is not only a big final moment. Freedom is built in small choices repeated every day. You must become loyal to your peace, not in a selfish way, but in a wise way. If you do not protect your mind, the world will fill it with noise. If you do not guide your thoughts, old habits will guide them. If you do not choose awareness, fear will choose for you. Protecting your peace means you stop giving unlimited access to everything that disturbs your inner world. It means you become careful with what you watch, what you listen to, what you repeat, and what you believe. This also means you must be careful with the stories you accept from others. Sometimes people speak from their own pain, and if you are not aware, you may carry their words as your truth. Someone may call you weak because they do not understand your path. Someone may judge you because they do not know your heart. Someone may doubt you because they cannot see your growth. But their perception is not your prison unless you accept it as your identity. You can listen without absorbing. You can hear criticism without becoming crushed by it. You can learn from what is useful and release what is only noise. This is inner freedom. You no longer allow every voice outside you to become a voice inside you. You choose what enters your heart. You choose what deserves space in your mind. At some point, you must decide that your mind will no longer be a place where fear rules everything. You must decide that your inner world will no longer be a battlefield where you attack yourself every day. You must decide that your peace is worth protecting, your healing is worth practicing, and your life is worth experiencing without the constant shadow of negative thinking. This decision does not need to be dramatic. It can be quiet. It can happen in the middle of an ordinary day. You can simply pause and say, I do not want to live this way anymore. Not with hatred toward yourself, but with love for the part of you that is tired. You can say, I am ready to stop feeding the thoughts that hurt me. You can say, I am ready to come back to the present. You can say, I am ready to choose freedom, even if I have to choose it one breath at a time. And that is how change begins, not by becoming perfect, not by never thinking negatively again, not by removing every fear in one moment. Change begins when you stop surrendering your whole life to every thought that appears. Change begins when you understand that the mind can be trained. Change begins when you stop saying, this is just how I am, and begin saying, this is what I am learning to release. The old prison may still call you back. The mind may still offer familiar thoughts. It may say, come back to worry, come back to regret, come back to self-doubt, come back to the story you know, but you do not have to return. Familiar pain is not the same as safety. Just because a thought is old does not mean it is true. Just because a fear is familiar does not mean it deserves your obedience. Choose a new way. Choose to pause. Choose to breathe. Choose to observe. Choose to answer fear with wisdom. Choose to answer shame with compassion. Choose to answer regret with learning. Choose to answer uncertainty with patience. Choose to answer negative thinking with presence. This is how the cage loses power. One day, you may notice that your mind still creates thoughts, but you no longer feel trapped by them in the same way. You hear the old fear, but it does not own you. You remember the old pain, but it does not pull you back completely. You face uncertainty, but you do not collapse. You feel emotion, but you do not become lost. This is the fruit of practice. This is the quiet miracle of inner training. The goal is not to destroy the mind. The goal is to understand it. The goal is not to silence every thought forever. The goal is to stop believing every thought blindly. The goal is not to escape being human. The goal is to become more awake inside your human experience. You will still have thoughts. You will still feel emotions. You will still face challenges, but you will meet them with more awareness, more patience, and more freedom. This is why Buddhism is not only a teaching for peaceful moments, it is a path for every moment. It helps you when the mind is calm, and it helps you when the mind is stormy. It helps you when life feels easy, and it helps you when life feels uncertain. It reminds you that you can always return. You can return to the breath. You can return to the present. You can return to compassion. You can return to wisdom. You can return to yourself. Never believe that you are too far gone to change your mind. Never believe that negative thinking is your permanent home. Never believe that because you have suffered for a long time, you must suffer forever. The mind is changeable. The heart is teachable. Awareness is possible. Peace is possible. Freedom is possible. Begin where you are. Begin with the thought that is in front of you. Begin with the fear that is loud today. Begin with the breath you are taking now. Do not wait for a perfect version of yourself to appear. The path begins with the imperfect, tired, overthinking self that is still willing to try. That willingness is sacred. That willingness is the opening of the door. If your mind creates a cage today, do not hate yourself. See the cage. Understand how it was built. Notice the thoughts that formed the bars. Notice the fear that locked the door. Then breathe and choose differently. One bar weakens when you question the thought. Another bar weakens when you return to the present. Another bar weakens when you speak kindly to yourself. Another bar weakens when you release what you cannot control. This is how freedom happens. Slowly, gently, repeatedly. Not by force, but by awareness. Not by self-judgment, but by patience. Not by running away from the mind, but by learning how to guide it. Choose inner freedom every time the mind creates a cage. Choose it when fear is loud. Choose it when the past returns. Choose it when the future feels uncertain. Choose it when self-doubt tries to define you. Choose it when old pain asks you to live there again. Choose it in small moments, quiet moments, ordinary moments. These choices become your path. And when you choose freedom again and again, the mind begins to understand. It learns that fear is not the master. It learns that thoughts are not commands. It learns that pain is not identity. It learns that peace is not found by controlling everything, but by awakening inside this moment. It learns that it can rest. So breathe deeply. Let the mind speak, but do not let every thought lead you. Let emotions rise, but do not let every emotion become your home. Let memories come, but do not let every memory become your prison. Let life change, but do not lose yourself in the changing. You are the awareness behind the thought. You are the calm beneath the storm. You are the space in which fear appears and disappears. You are not trapped forever. The door opens every time you remember who is watching the mind. Choose inner freedom. Choose awareness. Choose peace. Choose to step out of the cage, one breath at a time, until the mind that once imprisoned you becomes the mind that quietly guides you back home. 11. Stop arguing with your mind and start observing it. One of the reasons negative thinking becomes so powerful is because we keep arguing with the mind. A thought appears, and immediately we begin fighting it. The mind says, "You are not enough," and we say, "Why am I thinking this again?" The mind says, "Something bad will happen," and we try to force it to be quiet. The mind brings an old memory, and we become angry at ourselves for remembering it. But the more we fight the mind, the more restless it becomes. The more we push against every thought, the more trapped we feel inside the struggle. Buddhism teaches a different way. It teaches observation. It teaches us to watch the mind without becoming the mind. This is a very powerful practice because most people do not observe their thoughts. They immediately become their thoughts. If fear appears, they become afraid. If anger appears, they become angry. If shame appears, they become ashamed. If doubt appears, they become the doubt. There is no space between the thought and the person. This is why the mind feels like a prison. But when you learn to observe, something changes. A negative thought appears, and instead of entering it, you watch it. You notice its shape. You notice its feeling. You notice how it enters the mind, how it creates tension in the body, how it tries to pull your attention, and how it slowly changes when you do not feed it. You begin to understand that a thought is not a command. It is only a movement in the mind. This is one of the deepest freedoms in Buddhism. You do not have to believe every thought, and you do not have to fight every thought. You can simply see it. When you see it clearly, it loses some of its power. A thought that is believed blindly becomes a master. A thought that is fought angrily becomes a battle. But a thought that is observed calmly becomes a passing cloud. Imagine sitting beside a river. The water flows in front of you. Leaves pass by. Small branches pass by. Sometimes the water is calm, and sometimes it moves quickly. But you do not jump into the river every time something passes. You simply watch it move. The mind is like that river. Thoughts come and go. Emotions come and go. Memories come and go. Fears come and go. The problem begins when you jump into every thought and let it carry you away. Observation means you sit on the bank of the river. You see the thought, but you do not become the thought. You see fear, but you do not let fear drag you away. You see regret, but you do not drown in yesterday. You see anger, but you do not allow it to speak for you. You see sadness, but you do not build your whole identity from it. This is not coldness. This is wisdom. Many people believe they must solve every thought. But not every thought needs a solution. Some thoughts only need space to pass. Some thoughts are not problems. They are old habits. Some thoughts are not warnings. They are echoes of past pain. Some thoughts are not truth. They are fear trying to protect itself. If you treat every thought like an emergency, your mind will never rest. When a negative thought appears, try saying, "I notice that this thought is here." This simple sentence creates distance. You are no longer saying, "I am this thought." You are saying, "This thought is present." There is a big difference. If you say, "I am hopeless," the mind becomes trapped. But if you say, "A hopeless thought is present," you create space. If you say, "I am afraid," you may feel swallowed by fear. But if you say, "Fear is present," you become the one who is noticing fear. This is why mindfulness is so powerful. Mindfulness does not always remove the thought immediately, but it changes your relationship with the thought. You stop being a prisoner and become a witness. You stop being controlled and begin to see clearly. The thought may still be there, but now there is awareness around it. And awareness is like light. When light enters a dark room, the darkness does not need to be attacked. It simply begins to lose its power. The negative mind wants you to react quickly. It wants you to panic. It wants you to argue. It wants you to believe. It wants you to follow the story all the way to suffering. But observation slows everything down. It gives you a moment to pause before you become trapped. It gives you a breath before you react. It gives you a doorway before the mind closes around you. When the mind says, "You will fail," observe it. Do not immediately believe it. Do not immediately fight it. Simply notice. The mind is creating fear about failure. When the mind says, "They do not care about you," observe it. Notice. The mind is creating a story from pain. When the mind says, "Your life will never change," observe it. Notice. The mind is speaking from exhaustion, not truth. This gentle observation helps you see that the mind is not always giving wisdom. Sometimes it is only repeating fear. Buddhism teaches that suffering often grows from identification. We identify with thoughts, emotions, and stories. We say, "This is me." But thoughts are changing, emotions are changing, stories are changing. If you build your identity on something that is always changing, you will always feel unstable. Today the mind feels confident, and you think you are strong. Tomorrow the mind feels afraid, and you think you are weak. But you are deeper than both states. You are the awareness that can notice confidence and fear. This understanding can bring great peace. You do not need to create your identity from every passing mental state. If sadness is present, it does not mean you are a sad person forever. If anxiety is present, it does not mean you are broken. If anger is present, it does not mean you are bad. If doubt is present, it does not mean you have no strength. These are passing experiences. They arise, they remain for a while, and they pass away. When you stop arguing with your mind, you stop making every thought stronger. Fighting a thought often gives it more attention. You may say, "I must not think this," but then you are still thinking about it. You may say, "This thought must go away," but then the thought becomes the center of your attention. The more desperate you become to remove it, the more powerful it feels. Observation is softer. It does not give the thought the same fuel. It says, "You are here. I see you. You may pass." This calm attitude allows the thought to move. It does not trap the thought with fear. It does not hold it with resistance. It lets it rise and fall naturally. Many thoughts become weaker when they are not fed with panic. This does not mean you allow harmful thoughts to control you. Observation is not surrender. Observation is the first step before wise action. If a thought is useful, you can learn from it. If a thought is false, you can release it. If a thought reveals pain, you can care for that pain. If a thought is only fear repeating itself, you can return to the present moment. But first, you must observe. Without observation, you react blindly. A person who observes the mind becomes less controlled by mood. They begin to notice patterns. They may notice that their mind becomes negative when they are tired. They may notice that fear becomes stronger when they compare themselves to others. They may notice that old memories return when they feel lonely. They may notice that anger grows when they are holding unspoken pain. This awareness is valuable. It helps you understand yourself instead of judging yourself. When you understand your mind, you can care for it better. If you notice that tiredness makes your thoughts dark, you can rest instead of believing every negative story. If you notice that comparison makes you feel worthless, you can step away from what triggers comparison. If you notice that loneliness creates painful stories, you can meet that loneliness with compassion. Observation teaches you what your mind needs. Many people want peace, but they never study their own mind. They study other people. They study the world. They study what went wrong. They study who hurt them. But they do not gently study the movement of their own thoughts. Buddhism invites you to become a student of your mind, not to blame it, but to understand it. Not to control it with force, but to guide it with wisdom. Sit quietly sometimes and watch what the mind does. Notice how one thought leads to another. Notice how a memory becomes an emotion. Notice how an emotion becomes a story. Notice how a story becomes a belief. This is how the prison is built. But when you see the building process, you can stop adding bricks. You can say, "I see what is happening. My mind is turning one thought into a prison. I do not need to continue." This practice is especially important when you feel triggered. A trigger is a moment when something outside you wakes up something inside you. Someone says a word, and suddenly your mind returns to old pain. Someone ignores you, and suddenly the mind says you are not important. Something goes wrong, and suddenly the mind says your whole life is falling apart. In these moments, observation is your protection. Instead of reacting immediately, pause, feel the body, notice the breath, ask, "What has been triggered inside me?" Maybe the situation is small, but it touched an old wound. Maybe the person's words hurt because they reminded you of something from the past. Maybe your reaction is bigger than the present moment because the mind is mixing now with yesterday. When you observe this, you gain wisdom. You stop blaming only the outside world and begin understanding the inner wound. This does not mean other people's actions are always right. It simply means you do not give your mind permission to lose itself. You can respond wisely after observing. You can set boundaries. You can walk away. You can speak clearly. You can protect yourself, but you do not need to react from blind pain. Observation gives you the space to respond from clarity. Buddhism teaches that the untrained mind jumps quickly. It jumps from one thought to another. It jumps from one emotion to another. It jumps from one fear to another. But the trained mind learns to pause. This pause is not empty. It is full of wisdom. In the pause, you can see what is happening. In the pause, you can choose your next word. In the pause, you can stop a small thought from becoming a whole day of suffering. The pause is where freedom lives. Before the pause, you are controlled by habit. After the pause, you can choose awareness. Before the pause, anger speaks. After the pause, wisdom can speak. Before the pause, fear decides. After the pause, patience can enter. This is why the simple act of pausing is one of the most powerful practices for escaping negative thinking. You can practice observation in small ways every day. When you wake up, notice the first thoughts that come. Are they peaceful? Are they worried? Are they heavy? Do not judge them. Just notice. During the day, notice when your mind becomes tense. Notice what thoughts appear when you feel criticized. Notice what your mind says when you are alone. Notice what story appears when something does not go your way. This daily noticing slowly makes you more awake. You can also practice by naming the thought. If fear appears, say, fear is here. If worry appears, say, worry is here. If regret appears, say, regret is here. If anger appears, say, anger is here. This naming is not weakness, it is awareness. When you name the thought, you stop being swallowed by it. You create a small space between the watcher and what is being watched. The more you practice, the more you realize that thoughts are temporary visitors. Some visitors are peaceful, some are painful, some are useful, some are noisy. But you do not need to give every visitor a permanent room in your mind. You can welcome awareness, learn from what is useful, and let the rest pass. This is how the mind becomes less crowded. Negative thinking becomes a prison when every thought is allowed to stay. The mind fills with fear, regret, shame, anger, and worry until there is no space left for peace. Observation opens the windows. It lets fresh air enter. It allows old thoughts to leave. It reminds you that your inner space does not belong to every passing fear. It belongs to awareness. You may ask, what if the thought keeps coming back? Then you keep observing. You do not need to panic because a thought returns. Some thoughts return because they are connected to deep habits or old wounds. They may need time. Every time they return, you practice again. You notice. You breathe. You do not feed them. You return to the present. This repetition is not failure. It is training. A thought returning does not mean you are not healing. It may mean the mind is giving you another chance to respond differently. Before, you may have followed the thought for hours. Now, you notice it after 10 minutes. Later, you may notice it after 1 minute. Then, one day, you may notice it as soon as it appears. This is progress. Awareness grows through practice. Do not expect the mind to become perfectly quiet. The mind produces thoughts. That is its nature. Just as the sky allows clouds to pass, awareness allows thoughts to pass. The problem is not that clouds appear. The problem is when you think the cloud is the whole sky. The problem is not that negative thoughts appear. The problem is when you forget the awareness behind them. You are the sky, not the cloud. You are the space, not the storm. You are the watcher, not every thought that moves through the mind. When this truth becomes clear, negative thinking loses its deepest power. It may still visit, but it cannot own you in the same way. This is why observing the mind is a path to freedom. It teaches you not to fear your own inner world. Many people are afraid to sit quietly because they do not want to face their thoughts. But when you learn observation, you realize you can face your thoughts without being destroyed by them. You can sit with fear and still remain. You can sit with sadness and still breathe. You can sit with uncertainty and still be present. You become less afraid of yourself. And when you are no longer afraid of your own mind, a great peace becomes possible. You do not need to run from silence. You do not need to fill every moment with distraction. You do not need to keep escaping into noise. You can sit with yourself and know, whatever thought appears, I can observe it. Whatever emotion rises, I can breathe through it. Whatever memory comes, I do not have to become its prisoner. This is a deep form of strength. It is not loud. It does not need to prove itself. It is the quiet strength of someone who has learned not to be dragged by every movement of the mind. It is the strength of someone who can feel pain without becoming cruel, feel fear without becoming frozen, and feel sadness without losing hope. Stop arguing with your mind. The mind does not become peaceful through constant fighting. Start observing it. Watch it with patience. Study it with kindness. Notice its patterns. Understand its fears. Guide it gently back to the present. When a thought is useful, learn from it. When a thought is harmful, release it. When a thought is painful, meet it with compassion. When a thought is false, do not obey it. The more you observe, the more you become free. You begin to see that the prison of negative thinking was never made only of thoughts. It was made of believing, feeding, resisting, and identifying with those thoughts. When you stop doing these things, the prison begins to lose its walls. A thought can come, but you do not have to believe it. A fear can come, but you do not have to follow it. A memory can come, but you do not have to live there. An emotion can come, but you do not have to become it. This is freedom. So the next time your mind creates a painful story, do not rush to fight it. Do not rush to believe it. Pause. Breathe. Observe. Say, this is a thought. This is not my whole truth. Watch it rise. Watch it change. Watch it pass. And as it passes, remember that you are still here. You are the awareness. You are the quiet space behind the noise. You are not a prisoner of your mind anymore. You are learning how to watch the mind with wisdom, and that wisdom is opening the door to peace. Negative thinking can feel like a dark room inside the mind. At first, it may begin with one thought, one fear, one painful memory, or one small doubt. But if you keep feeding it, if you keep believing it, if you keep repeating it every day, that small thought can become a prison. It can make you forget your peace. It can make you forget your strength. It can make you forget that life is bigger than the suffering your mind keeps showing you. But Buddhism teaches that you are not your thoughts. You are not every fear that appears inside you. You are not every painful memory that returns. You are not every story your mind creates when it feels afraid. You are the awareness behind the thoughts. You are the one who can pause, breathe, observe, and choose a different response. The mind may say, "You are not enough," but you do not have to believe it. The mind may say, "Nothing will change," but you do not have to obey it. The mind may say, "The past has ruined you," but you do not have to live inside that story. The mind may say, "The future will be painful," but you do not have to suffer from a future that has not arrived. Freedom begins when you stop fighting every thought and start observing it. Freedom begins when you stop feeding the thoughts that hurt you. Freedom begins when you return to the present moment instead of living in regret or worry. Freedom begins when you stop calling pain your identity and start seeing it as something you can heal from. You do not need to make your mind perfectly silent to find peace. You only need to stop becoming a prisoner of every thought that appears. Thoughts will come and go. Emotions will rise and fall. Memories will return and fade. Fear may visit, doubt may speak, and sadness may knock on the door. But none of these things have to become your home. The Buddhist path is not about escaping life. It is about meeting life with awareness. It is about learning to breathe when the mind is loud. It is about choosing compassion when you feel broken. It is about choosing patience when life is uncertain. It is about choosing wisdom when fear is trying to control you. Every time you notice a negative thought without becoming it, you become a little freer. Every time you return to your breath, you open the door a little wider. Every time you speak kindly to yourself, you heal a little deeper. Every time you release what you cannot control, your mind becomes a little lighter. Never believe that you are trapped forever. The prison of negative thinking was built through repetition, and it can be opened through repetition. Repeated awareness, repeated patience, repeated compassion, repeated letting go, repeated return to the present moment. You may not become free in one day, but every mindful breath is a step. Every wise choice is a step. Every moment of self-compassion is a step. Every time you refuse to follow a painful thought, you are stepping out of the prison. So from today, do not let your mind become your enemy. Train it gently, observe it patiently, speak to it kindly, guide it back when it wanders into fear. Do not punish yourself for being human. Do not hate yourself for struggling. You are learning, you are healing, you are becoming aware. Let your thoughts come and go like clouds in the sky. Let fear rise and fall like waves in the ocean. Let the past teach you, but not trap you. Let the future inspire you, but not frighten you. Let this moment become your home. Peace is not far away. It is hidden beneath the thoughts you keep believing. Freedom is not impossible. It begins the moment you realize that the mind may speak, but you do not have to follow every voice. Breathe deeply. Return to now. Release what is heavy. Choose what is peaceful. And remember this: you are not a prisoner of your mind. You are the awareness that can open the door.